Copyright law. Last week, I talked about a frivolous case, or what I saw as a frivolous case. I'm not a judge, so maybe it does have merit, but I don't think it did, because it was a lady who took images and put them on the internet, and she'd altered them a bit. I don't think they were claiming it caused distress, which I don't think is real. Mainly, it was personal use thrown onto the internet. Now, this case this week is a bit different. This week, there was a flyer for a mayoral candidate, which sort of changes the context. So like if I'm an individual and I'm a fan of a thing and I do some stuff and I put it on the internet, that could be copyright infringement. But my point was, if they don't go after everybody, then they shouldn't be going after just the singular person. A mayor using promotional materials is a different setting. It's a different set of criteria for the work they're doing. Because this is public. This is about trying to get elected to office, no less. There have been multiple singers who've asked politicians to not use their music. So like, I'm a very liberal artist and Trump uses my music. I ask Trump to stop using my music because my values don't align with your values. I'm sure it's happened for Democrats as well. It's just that kind of thing. They're trying to pick theme songs. Those theme songs, the artists might have a say as to whether or not they actually agree with the person using their theme song. The poster that was made was 5 men in basketball uniforms. Now, what they did was they took the poster as basically slam dunk, and they took the faces off and they put on the faces of some politicians, and then they kind of softened up their bodies so they looked a little more like physically appropriate. They didn't really look like basketball players. It's imagine you took some slam dunk characters and made them out of wax and then put them in a hot room so they sort of melted a bit. That's what the poster actually ended up looking like. But the uniforms, the positioning and whatnot was a very iconic poster from Slam Dunk, and they did the same thing. This I actually think is a very good idea. It's very cool, but of course, being a politician, you have to get permission first. You have to contact the artist, you have to contact the company. Can we do this? We are changing the thing, but of course there is a lot of overlap between the two. Is this acceptable to you? Maybe we have to throw you some money, something. I actually bet if they'd asked, the company would have been okay with it, even if they had to throw them just like, let's pretend you actually bought the rights. Also, mayors seem like they're supposed to uphold the law. So they're in this position where they have to make laws. They should actually be upholding those laws that they make. This poster went out, they got in trouble, and they did, of course, the most reasonable thing, took full responsibility, apologized for it, took down the poster, and then changed it up. No, of course they didn't. They tried to leave the poster up and blame a young member of their staff saying that they did it and we didn't know about this and it totally wasn't our fault, even though, of course, they had to approve the poster before it went out. Found this story very interesting because I didn't know this was a thing. I didn't know this law that they're talking about was a thing. There were 5 teen boys. They were all about 17, 18 years old. They were all arrested, and they were arrested for dueling. I didn't think dueling was a thing. Like, I know actually until very recently, dueling was like in laws. There are laws because dueling used to be a thing and it used to be legal. And then they're like, well, we can't have people going around shooting each other with pistols anymore. So we have to make it illegal. So if you look up like the last time there was a duel, it was actually surprisingly recent. There are states in America where if two parties do agree to fight and they agree to sort of rules, you can fight. I believe Washington state actually allows you to duel as long as you don't use weapons or something like that. But in Japan, again, having all the samurai culture and people whipping out swords and cutting each other in half and stuff, dueling was off the books as soon as they got into this sort of more modern, peaceful era. Dueling is illegal in Japan under an 1889 law. So since 1889, you are not allowed to duel in Japan anymore. All members of a gang who were fighting over a helmet, which was decorated with the phrase, "Beat Nagasaki Prefectural Police." That's not a phrase that rolls off the tongue. It looks quite cool. It's a white helmet with gold stripe in the middle, and it has some stars on it. And it actually says in kanji, in Chinese characters, "Beat Nagasaki Prefectural Police." And both groups wanted this helmet. And it actually seemed to be 1 against 4. They said all of them were in gangs, plural, but it sounds like 4 members of a gang met 1 member of a different gang, and they fought over this helmet. They fought in a multi-story parking lot, which is very Highlander. and there could be only one, I guess. You're not allowed to cut off anyone's head in Japan. There's lots of places where you're not allowed to cut off anybody's head, but Japan's very serious about it. They do have the firearm and sword laws. So having swords very much equates to cutting off people's heads. They're very against that in Japan. The multi-story parking lot is also clearly the traditional dueling location. Police were alerted when someone called and reported there's a man who ran away after a fight wearing only his underwear. So it seems like 4 against 1. So it seems like they fought. They were fighting over this helmet. The 4 guys beat up the 1 guy, of course. They took off his clothes and then he ran away, which is, again, it's a very teenage attitude towards a fight. I don't know how I feel about this, because don't duel in the street. Don't duel. I'm actually okay with that. The reason this fell under the duel law is because they'd arranged it in advance. They're like, we want the helmet. I want the helmet. Meet me here at this time and we'll fight. That is arranging a duel. That's why it fell under this law. I think if you just met and didn't arrange it in advance that you were going to fight, it would have been fine. But the thing is, it's also really unfair. 4 guys show up against 1. That's not how you do a duel. So I think those 4 guys should get in more trouble than the 1 guy if they're actually going to fall under the dueling laws. What they should have done, again, here we get into the Ninja Japan giving advice to criminals. I practice judo. I go to judo 2-3 times a week. Like, I do it very regularly. I fight people all the time. I am, in essence, able to challenge someone to a fight, go to the judo place. We have insurance. We've all signed forms and stuff. And then we could fight. They need to do it at a dojo, and it doesn't fall under the dueling rules anymore. It falls under practice of a martial art, which you're perfectly allowed to do. Proves that these kids are just not as smart as me. So welcome to the quiz.
Yay.
Yeah, okay. Good response. So let me give you the background, a little bit of story, and then the quiz. So the mayor of a town was diagnosed with cancer, and he starts recuperating at home. Now, he's missed some of the current meetings and sessions and stuff, and an assembly member said one of the following. So there are 4 choices, okay?
Okay.
A, if only he had got cancer at a more convenient time. B,
Oh, that's messed up.
the mayor is a cancer on this session. C, I want to pray that he dies soon. Or D, I hope he gets well. So,
Back up.
do you want to hear it again?
I would love to hear it again.
Okay, so we have 4 options. A, if only he had gotten cancer at a more convenient time. B, the mayor is a cancer on this session. C,
Okay.
I want to pray that he dies soon. Or D, I hope he gets well. One of those is not like the others.
Yeah. Okay. So I have questions.
We can talk about it. Yes. Yeah. This is not like a hard quiz thing. This is just, we can talk about it a little bit.
So this might be a bit telling about me. Was it a man or a woman who made this hopefully nice remark?
It was, the mayor was a man and the assembly member was a man. So both were men. And there was some tension that the mayor was trying to run stuff from home. So he was at home recuperating, but he's like, you can still have meetings. I'll send instructions and stuff. So I think that's maybe where the frustration came from, is they weren't letting someone take over the role in the intermediate time, in the interim.
Okay. Oh God, mercy.
Okay. Yep.
How long has this person been mayor?
Oh, I don't know that. It's been a while. He's old, and apparently he's been like re-elected multiple times.
Okay.
But I mean, all the politicians we talk about, they're all in their 70s. This is actually, again, I've said a billion times, I want a moratorium on old politicians. I think government decides the age of retirement and politicians have to retire at that age. Would make a perfect amount of sense. They make the rule, they have to follow the rule. Would make a lot of sense.
So much good sense there.
It would work. This is the whole problem America's having, is you got these guys in their 70s and 80s now running for president. And it's like, dude, why? Why are they even allowed?
Because I have a vision. I will leave a legacy. I know things that can, shape the world because I'm old as shit.
But they should mentor the person who's going to take over.
They might do it wrong then.
Okay.
Just like in this situation.
I actually think what you're actually saying is, I'm greedy and I don't want to let go.
Yeah. Same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah. My legacy. Okay. You got to pick A, B, C, D.
So Okay, so I'm
Unless you
I'm
have
I'm just gonna go ahead and reject D. D
D
is
is
too much
the
like right.
yeah, the D is the way, obviously the joke answer. Of course he
Yeah.
said something
So
horrible, otherwise it wouldn't be a news story.
yeah. Um
All right, one more time.
the
A.
mayor's are canceling this. Hmm.
Okay.
If only get canceled more than any time. The mayor's canceled this session or won't pray you die. I wrote them down.
Oh, good. Wow.
Okay. So the mayor's are canceling this session. That there's it's hard to spin that in a more positive light. So I'm gonna reject that one.
Okay, so you've
Okay, I'm gonna
rejected
reject
B.
B. Yes. Um and A sounds too reasonable. Nope. I want to pray that he dies soon. I choose C.
100% correct on the first
Yeah.
try. That is amazing. I think I actually didn't. I haven't been keeping track of if people have been getting them right or not, but I think you might be the first. You just got it right on the first go.
Hey,
Oh,
you have to know how messy people can be, and that. Mm,
all right. So there's a second part. Did he
oh,
double down when the leader of the session asked if he wanted to correct his statement?
of course he doubled down. He's
Of-
like, I said that shit and I meant it.
Okay. What do you think he said? What do you think he said? So you got to think of his phraseology too. I want to pray that he dies soon.
Well, he he probably tried to rephrase it by saying that what I meant was, I hope that he gets relief from his cancer soon in the form of
Oh no,
death.
no, that's not doubling down. That is trying to reframe it. He doubles down.
Oh,
Like
well,
he's like, not only did I say what I said, I meant it.
all right.
So
Well,
what do you think he said? What do you think he said the second time? So the leader of the session is like, dude, you've way crossed the line. I'm going to give you an opportunity to retract or say something again, like you just did. Try to reframe it a little bit so that you're not going
mm,
to get in trouble, because you're going to get in trouble if you stand by this. And he's like, you know what? I said what I said, and here we go.
mm. I hope it spreads to his family.
Oh damn. He says, I don't tell lies. Why is he
Shit.
clinging to his position? So he's one of the he was frustrated because the guy's trying to run the city government from home. And he's
Yeah.
saying like, why is he doing that? It would be better if he just died. Then the next day, there was a bigger meeting and he did apologize, because I'm betting someone in his group was like, dude, what are you doing wishing the mayor was dead?
Right? Like someone just played back his words. Like, did you really mean that? Are you sure?
I didn't get the retraction or anything yet. So I'm waiting for there to be maybe another session where he actually formally has to apologize. I'm assuming he's going to retract his statement so it never existed, which is, of course, my favorite political move. That didn't happen.
I mean, he's gonna have to retract himself from office. He's got to go. I mean, you
It's,
can't wish somebody dead and then double down on it.
they
Like you
don't they don't
gotta.
do that here though. They just like, I retract my statement, or you misunderstood what I meant. Because the last one we did, she like claimed that like, can you call yourself a woman if you don't have a baby? And she was like, oh, I meant like women birthed me into my job. It's like, that is not what those words mean.
That is not what you said.
That is not even close to what you said.
Oh, I love that.
All right.
Oh, I love that. Oh God.
Good.
I mean, I've wished for people to die before, but I wished it to
Quietly to yourself.
myself.
I mean, I think everyone
Yes.
has wished someone dead at some
Mhm.
point, but part of your brain's going, I don't really mean it. I'm not going to say it out loud. And if you said it out loud, it was in anger, and you're like, okay, look, I didn't actually mean that. I was just angry.
I've never, so I've thought it to myself. I said it to myself. I've never been so upset with anyone that I would wish death on them. Even like, some people are like, fuck my life. I don't, I can't say that. I don't like it. It just, that disturbs me,
I
you
don't
know?
think I've said it, but I've said really harsh stuff before. Like, I have a mouth. So
Oh, I know.
you've talked to me before. So I may have said something like, but not meant it. So if they said like, do you want to change your statement? I'd be like, look, okay, I don't really want him to die. I'm just very angry. I could see
Mm,
that for sure.
mm.
But this dude like, yeah, why is he still doing his job? I hope he dies. A record 3,568 people were stranded on mountains in 2023. So they keep track of this. So Mount Fuji has come in the news lately because they're going to start charging people if you want to climb out Mount Fuji. It's like one of the most classic touristy things to do. I think every Japanese person does it at some point in their life. They walk up. There's one where you start at like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning and you walk 6 hours up, and then you get to see the sunrise at Mount Fuji. I have never walked up Mount Fuji. I've lived in Japan for 20 years. I've never gone up Mount Fuji, and people ask me why, and it's because Mount Fuji, the mountain, looks amazing. The view from Mount Fuji is a bunch of towns and cities, which is not very exciting. And if it's cloud cover, you don't see anything. So for me, the appeal of being on top of the mountain is maybe if I could see other mountains and vistas and stuff, but looking at a bunch of city, not very exciting. So I would rather go to the area and look at the mountain itself than actually climb up it. That is the logic I use. I, therefore, will never get stranded on a mountain. This is the highest. So 3,568 people is the highest number since they started keeping track of this stat back in 1961. So pre-pandemic, not this many people got stranded on mountains. During the pandemic, of course, people weren't traveling, so that didn't happen. But they started keeping track in 1961. We've had a huge tourism boom over the last year. It's actually caused a lot of trouble. Over the last 3-4 weeks of stories have been tourists behaving badly, people trying to stop tourists from crossing the line of what's considered proper decorum in Japan. It's pretty reasonable, it's pretty sensible stuff. People in Japan don't follow Japanese rules because they're not Japanese, and they end up offending locals and stuff. But of course, how many foreigners got stuck? 145. So 3,400 or so of the 3,500 people who got stuck were Japanese. So at least they can't turn around and say this is all foreigners getting stuck on the mountains and we have to pay taxes to pull them down and stuff. It is 99% Japanese people. That is 1.4 times more than the last peak, which was in 2019. 790 of the people were in their 70s. And people over 60s accounted for more than half. So it actually seems like older people are thinking, I love the idea of going up a mountain, hiking up a mountain, and they go up and then they're just like, I can't make it back, and they get stranded. They have to have someone come up and get them and carry them down. I'm weirdly glad that it's Japanese people and not foreigners. We've had so many bad news stories about foreigners lately that I'm actually worried that this could be too much and it'll actually get again, tarnish the image of foreigners in Japan. But now it's just old people in Japan going up mountains, not being able to get back down. That makes perfect sense. Since we're talking a little stats, I do love my stats. Ninja News Japan loves its stats. In 2023, there were a record 80,404 complaints about social media scams. We do talk a lot about scams. There's a lot of scams in Japan. There's not as much like violence and stuff, but people everywhere, every country are always trying to steal your money. That's something you should be aware of. Peace-loving Japan, they still want your money. And they're willing to lie to you to get it. So this number, 80,000, is up 20,000 from 2022. We don't get the 2024 numbers, of course, until the year is finished, and then they have to, calculate it and whatnot. This is mostly from people 50 plus. So there are older people spending time on the internet, using social media. They are not as aware of, maybe they're more trusting. They think like someone's saying something to me, I'm going to believe what they say, I'm going to trust them, and they get involved in the scam. And it's a bit annoying. I would think maybe, is there some internet awareness course that could be offered to older people? Like, how do you recognize a scam? Basically, if it's too good to be true, it's a scam. I did get scammed out of a little bit of cryptocurrency once, so I'm not above this issue. I think I've talked about that scam in a different podcast, but it sucks because you're embarrassed, so you don't want to tell anybody. So I go out of my way to talk about it so that people understand, look, they lied to you and believed them. That's not actually a terrible thing. So what you need to do is actually make yourself and other people more aware. So I hopefully use my experience, let other people know what happened so that you can actually be aware of possible scams. There's a lot of subscription service complaints. So in 2022, there were 20,000. So this is like you subscribe to something and then you decide you don't want the subscription service anymore. And it's really hard to quit the subscription. They try to lock you in. A lot of gyms are famous for this. You join a gym and then you try to quit the gym and they won't give you your money back. And then they roll it over. This is up 20,000 to 98,101 subscription service complaints. The biggest scams in social media in Japan right now are foreign exchange market trading. So this is very similar to the one where they stole my cryptocurrency, where I put my cryptocurrency into a plan and then I got my returns. So I put more cryptocurrency into the plan and then suddenly I couldn't pull it out in again. So by giving me that first return, I was now very confident that this was not a scam. So the first time, of course, I did a little test. I put in a little bit of money. I wasn't worried about losing because it wasn't that much. And then it actually worked. So I'm like, okay, this is a real service. And then when it was a bigger number, still again, didn't like ruin my life or anything. I don't have enough money to actually give enough money to anyone to ruin my life. Then suddenly, oh, there's been an error in the system. We can't withdraw your money. You have to do this. You have to do this. And they kept starting saying like, you got to top up your funds. You got to do this to get it to reset. And then it was very clearly a scam. Luckily, I didn't do all those things to lose even more money, which of course, since you become desperate, is very possible. So you put your money into the foreign exchange market trading and then you can't withdraw the money. Luxury bags off fake websites. So this either could be a fake bag or a fake website where they don't send you anything at all after you send them some money. Couldn't cancel subscriptions. The kind of subscriptions they're talking about, cosmetics. So you pay for skin cream and it comes every month. And then you say like, well, I have enough skin cream or the skin cream isn't doing what they promised. It didn't make me look younger or healthier or more awesome. So I want to cancel the skin cream. And then you can't find a way to cancel it. You just, there's no unsubscribe button. You can't cancel anything. They just keep charging your credit card again and again. Or health food. So it's actually interesting to me, these things that are essentially maybe preying upon insecurities. I want to be healthier. I want to be younger. I want to look better. Those are the places where they start scams. I guess there are just a lot of subscription services for those. Overall, it went from 33,000 to 900,000 spam email complaints, suspicious phone calls, mostly real estate and construction. There were 8.8 trillion yen in damage to consumers in 2023. So we do need safety courses or information or PSAs to go out there. Ninja News Japan is absolutely trying to do its part. Don't get scammed. If you have a really weird, suspicious thing going on, send me a message. I will tell you if it's real or not, because again, I've had the experience and it is one of those things. If it's too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true. And if there's a subscription service, make sure you're able to unsubscribe. You know what I did actually? I had a credit card that was going to expire and I subscribed to all these things that I wanted. And then I knew they were going to be difficult to unsubscribe to. And when my credit card renewed, I just didn't renew the information. And that's it. I got out of it. So it would be great if the credit card companies would create like a 1-year credit card. So it works. And then you can roll it over, but it'll be a new credit card, not the old one just continued. And that way, if you put all the subscriptions and stuff on that, then you can just quit a whole bunch of stuff by having your credit card expire and not renewing it. Okay, this is the last story of the day. A Japanese pianist was arrested for, I should have done a quiz on this one, stealing cabin attendants' aprons. So when he was on the airplane, he has the cabin attendants, the stewardesses and stuff, and they wear aprons when they're cooking or making stuff in the back. And maybe I assume they take them off and hang them up because they have to be in their uniform. He had a thing for them, had a thing for uniforms. That's actually a pretty big fetish in Japan. He went into the back and he stole one of those. He apparently got caught and got arrested. He said while being arrested, collecting women's uniforms is my hobby. I smelled it and wore it myself. Now I don't really do the underwear theft stories anymore because there's nothing interesting that underwear thieves do that adds anything to the story. I would do like volume and stuff for a while, but basically we've heard the underwear theft story enough times that new iterations of it aren't that interesting. But they never say what they do with it. They'll say something vague like, I use it to satisfy my sexual desires or something. In this case, he's very specific. I smelled it and I wore it myself. So he took the stewardess's apron and put it on and he wore it around the house. And then he tried to smell, I assume, the person who had worn it before. While they were away from the galley area, he went back to the galley and stole it from there. Police went to several locations. So again, he's a pianist. He travels around. Police found nurses' uniforms and aprons at his home and other places. So he hadn't just done this for stewardess. He had done this for nurses. He had gone to hospitals, or I guess maybe even like clinics and stuff. They would have it. He went to these places and stole the uniform, I guess packed it in a bag and just got out of there as quick as he could. I do understand a lot of fetishes. I may not have them, I may not share them, but I understand them. But then there's this whole category of fetishes that I just don't understand. And I wonder how they come about. We just touched on this. In university, we touched on this in Psych 101 that I did. And I really enjoyed psychology because we got to talk about this stuff. But how do you develop a fetish? Is it already inherent or is it developed over time because of an experience? And that is, this guy is a pianist. He's actually fairly well renowned. He travels around. He's international. So he's playing piano. He's making money. He's living the dream of a lot of musicians. He's getting paid to play piano. And he messed it up because he just could not resist his fetish. If you would like to join the Ninja News Japan quiz, send an email to chunkmcbeefchest@gmail.com. I love having other people on the podcast and having them join the quiz. It is very difficult to set up with time zones, but if you would like to participate in one of the quizzes, send me a message and I'll do my best to try to arrange that.